handoff here to David Johnson. And David Johnson looking for the end zone, and he gets in there. So the first score of the season, which looked as if it belonged to DeMarcus Robinson.
There you go, the old tried hand, David Johnson, the first score of the 2020 season. But we're about to score multiple touchdowns as I bring in one of my favorite people on earth, one of the greatest broadcasters I've ever known, the great Dennis Fithian, D. Fifth. Football is back, and as we see the highlights here from Chiefs and Texans, you and I have done various shows for years, but various shows during COVID. I did not think we would get to this point. You always did. I salute you.
Well, you know what? I thought that the teams looked pretty good. I thought it would be a penalty-filled first half. I thought the defenses would dominate, but both teams. I mean, David Johnson looked fantastic. The Texans' offense looks like they're going to need a few weeks without DeAndre Hopkins kind of hit their stride. You know, Deshaun Watson looked pretty good here. But, man, the Chiefs with Clyde Edwards-Helaire and those jump cuts from the first-round pick, man, they look deadly, and it was fun. The production of the game went off well, and, of course, the Chiefs look great.
They did. Well, listen, welcome in to our first ever and first of the season edition of Football Friday with Fithian and Leach, a joint task force good afternoon production, which I can't be more excited about, Fifth. And anytime I get to work with you and be with you, it just means a lot, and there's a ton we're going to get into. We want to let everyone know you can stay connected via the live chat. If you have questions, you have comments, we will throw those up on screen. So please stay involved. But Fifth, let's start with this, my fine friend. We got a Lions game this weekend. I still can't believe it, but you got Bears and Lions. Trubisky named the starter. You know, some were surprised. They, bring in, the old tried hand of Nick Foles. He's not in there. The Lions, by the way, are down to a 2.5-point favorite. I know we got a pick segment coming up in a little bit, but we'll talk about this game, obviously, and how we think it's going to end up going. But where are you at with the Lions in 2020? Where are you at with the Lions and Bears this Sunday with no fans at Ford Field?
Yeah, let me just tell everybody if they can always rewatch this on YouTube, but also I'm going to start up the Good Afternoon podcast and welcome in here on a Football Friday along with Dan Leach as we talk about the Lions as they get ready for this opener against the Bears on Sunday. And you know what? I've liked the Lions all off season to be above 500 team, but the more I look at this game, man, the more weary I get when I see Kenny Golladay doubtful, when I see Hal Vatae over on that right side of the offensive line, which he's going to be right next to a rookie in Jonah Jackson, and we know Vatae is going to be out. So, man, Crosby, he did pretty good against Bosa last year, held up to not give a sack. So he has been under fire here before, but that's a huge loss here for the Lions offensive line. And, I don't like to badmouth Mitch Trubisky. You can, except if you're a Lions fan because he lights them up. But all of that being said, I think the Lions in this spot have to get this victory. They have Matt Stafford, and you know that he's going to be throwing the ball deep, and he's going to be trying to get that ball in bombs and those yards per attempt, which was so good last year under Darrell Bevell. And I thought it was good news that DeAndre Swift was good to go here. So at the Lions just find a way here. It's not one that I'm putting the house up on, but I think they find a way to get this one done.
Yeah, and Fifth, I look at it like this. Year 3 Patricia, year 5 Quinn. It's all about, we hope if you're a Lions fans, playoff or bust, we're moving immensely forward or bust. I did talk with Dave Burkett the other day, and he made an interesting case that it's COVID. If the Lions go 9-7 and they miss the playoffs, with all the other things going on, maybe they keep Patricia for one more year. But it is a do or die type of year. And you look at the draft. I know Okuda's not starting right now, but he's right on the precipice. You look at DeAndre Swift. I know he's banged up. You look at Okwara, who hasn't been great in camp. But you look at what they're trying to do, and they're trying to make this team a contender. And when you've got a healthy Matt Stafford, I know Golladay looks like he's not playing on Sunday, but you've got a running game, and Kerryon Johnson will get one more chance. Adrian Peterson, by the way, looks like you're going to see a lot of him on Sunday with DeAndre Swift hurt. You've got to come out and look at this Bears team. You mentioned Trubisky, Fed. I know he's had success at times against the Lions. He has not been a good quarterback in the NFL. I know there's no fans, but it still is a home game. You still have to travel if you're Chicago. It's an interdivisional game. The Lions were 0-6 last year in the division. I think this game is going to go well for Detroit. I think that Matt Stafford and the Bevel offense play well. I think there's a real chance the Lions actually put some, distance between them and Trubinsky and that Bears offense. But once again, as we've said for years, Dennis, it's about the defense. And that does worry me. And I want to see momentum in the first game from that defense getting pressure on Trubinsky. They didn't get any pressure last year. They barely blitzed. But I think that this goes well for, if you're a Lions fan, the good guys. And I've got a 24-14. I feel like the Lions can't lose this game if they want to have a good start to the season, obviously. An in-division game, at home, first game of the year, beatable team. They got to get it done, Dennis. I think they will.
Yeah, well, the new defensive coordinator, Corey Undlin, he's a guy that is a good teacher in what he'll be able to do with some of those guys in the secondary. I don't know how much of that he's been able to relay here in just a limited time, but I think he can have an effect here. The one thing about it, though, is you look, as impressed as you were watching the Chiefs and the Texans, you're talking about two quarterbacks that, and especially with Mahomes, he had pretty much had everybody back except one player there on offense, and they look like a fine-oiled machine. We did not see that with Deshaun Watson, and they had that first drive, but after that, they were struggling a little bit on offense. I think when you look at this Lions defense, and even if you include Deshaun Hand, who I don't know how many snaps he played last year, but it wasn't a whole lot. You got Trey Flowers, you got Jamie Collins, you got Tracy Walker in there. Those guys have to be at each level stalwarts for him here. But mostly, man, this is a complete new collection. So in one way, it's good. It's like, yeah, it really sucked last year. But another way, you're like, man, how is the cohesion? How do we expect them with limited camp and limited practice time really to have it all coming together? I think the team that I'm thinking about, the sloppy play. You can limit the gigantic plays. You're going to give up some plays, but if you can limit the gigantic plays and then limit your turnovers here, you're going to have a pretty good chance to win this game with Matt Stafford. I like the Lions 24-20. I'm worried about Kenny Golladay not playing, and then, of course, that right side of the offensive line. But, man, the Lions, considering the lack of success they had last year and the lack of success that they've had 0-4 against Nagy, they have to have this game. So, if you feel like the Lions are going to be close to 500, have a chance to make the playoffs, this is one of those games that they have to have a W.
Playoffs, by the way, that's a Fithian line that I've taken over with. All right, so you got a 24-20. I've got it 24-14 Lions. We both go Lions. If you want to give us your prediction, feel free to throw it in the live chat as well. You are watching or listening to Football Friday with Fithian and Leach, Task Force joint production with Good Afternoon. And Dennis, let's move to this game, which is going to be really fascinating. I know we're both very excited about this because you got Tom Brady as a Buccaneer. Terrific Tom Brady is no longer a Patriot after all those years and all the Super Bowls in New England. And now you've got Tom Brady as a Buck. It's going to look weird. It's going to feel weird. I think people are way too high at Tampa right now. What do you think about Tampa so far with Tom Brady and what you're kind of reading and hearing with the Buccaneers?
Well, one thing about Tom Brady, he's been working covertly with all of his wide receivers and tight ends, so I think that their offense should be good to go. It's probably going to come down to their defense, although not having Mike Evans in this game likely here for Tom Brady as his disposal, that's a huge loss here for this offense, but I do think for a couple games that Gronk might be able to do something for him. Just on the surface here, you think about the AFC South, Brady against Breeze, the first of two. It's going to be one of these two teams. I think ultimately it's going to be the Saints, who won 13 games their last 2 years and came down to one play where they ended up losing in the playoffs. This is a real powerhouse of a team. They don't have Davenport. They're not going to have the Michigan product Cesar Ruiz there, but I'm going to go ahead and take the Saints here. I don't know what home field advantage is going to do. I'm still going to lay the points. I think it's going to be a shootout. I'd like the over, but I'm going to take the Saints 35-30.
No, I think, listen, I think the Saints are the best team in the NFC. And by the way, if people are wondering, the spread right now is Saints minus 3.5. The Bucks, by the way, are seventh best with their futures odds, 12-1, along with Seattle and Dallas. You got the Saints and the Niners and the Ravens and the Chiefs with the best odds. I think that's way too high. I know it's terrific, Tom Dennis. I know it's a team that, with crab legs, Jameis Winston, scored a ton of points, but he threw a lot of picks, and he did have a great defense. The defense with Shalik Calhoun and others is seemingly maybe a kind of under-the-radar top 5 or 7 unit. You mentioned Evans, which is a huge loss in game number 1, and it is still Tom Brady, but it's not going to just happen overnight. I know things allegedly, from what I've been reading and hearing from the NFL insiders, are going well there. He's on, kind of has a good rapport with his receivers. He's working well with the offense, and it seems like he's Tom Brady of old. But it's more about what happens week to week than just one game here, 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now. So I think that when you look at Brady and the Bucs, they might be successful this year, but they're going up against one of the best teams in the NFL. And I know, as you mentioned, this is a huge factor when it comes to not just obviously betting on games, but picking teams to win if you're just a fan and you don't care about the point spread, because home field advantage is nothing. I mean, what are there going to be, 28 teams, Dennis, that have 0 fans? Some, I know we saw Kansas City, and some other teams are going to have fans. The LA teams aren't having fans all season long. Yeah, the Jags. So it's one of these things where NFL home field advantage, to me, and tell me if you think I'm wrong, Dennis, by far the most important of all the 4 sports. Not saying basketball and hockey aren't, and baseball is whatever, but it's so important. And not having home field advantage, it's going to take away from some of that, where teams are going to be a lot closer together because there won't be all the noise to deal with. That being said, the Saints, to me, I know the Bucs might be improving with Brady as the quarterback. They're just way too good. They're minus 3.5. I think they win this game by 14. I think Brady looks good at times, but looks pretty bad at times. This is his first game, real game with a new team. So I think the Saints take this game relatively easy in the end. Maybe it's close for the first half, but in the end, they win this by double digits.
Well, I like the Saints too. I do think the Bucs are going to get into the playoffs, but I like the Saints ultimately to win the South there. And what you hope when you got a 43 and 41-year-old quarterback is that both of these guys at the end of the year are good to go and get into the playoffs. Because just from name recognition, having Brady and then having Breeze and getting those guys into the postseason, that's going to be pretty awesome. But the one thing you remember about both Brady and Breeze, when these guys have missed some time, you have seen that their backups, when it was Bridgewater a few years ago, I thought that it helped Breeze out. He had a stronger arm towards the end of the year. And then when Brady was suspended for those first 4 games, a couple of years ago, he would come in fresh. So it might even be good to sit these guys out if they can have good starts. And in the middle of the season, of course, neither of these guys are going to take it benching lightly, but it's almost like you hope maybe, you could sit them down for a couple games to have them fresh for the postseason.
No, that's great. This is a very, very good point, Fifth. I'm going to go. I'll give a score. I'll give Saints 28, Patriots. Buccaneers 13. So 15. By the way, I was reading a couple articles in the last few days, and every one of them except for one said the Oakland Raiders. So it's going to take a minute. I'm going to probably say Patriots. By the way, let's answer this question really quick from Erwin Fletcher. He says, will Breeze or Brady throw a 25-yard completion or over? I think that's probably a prop. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say one of them will definitely throw a 25-yard completion or more. Fifth?
Yeah, I think both of them will. I know you're thinking about Patrick Mahomes that are going to throw the ball in the air, 40 air yards or whatever. But if you're talking about if you can hit Michael Thomas in strides, and in his stride he takes it 25 yards, if that counts, then sure, I think both of them. And, Godwin's a big play guy. And, you keep hearing about the familiarity with O.J. Howard and how he's worked with Tom Brady and how they've been, having this chemistry here. Yeah, I think both of them. I would bet that both of them would have completions over 25 yards.
Yep, I'm with you on that. All right,
put
Fifth.
Me down. No,
You're down. I got the whole list here. I got all of our plays. And we're going to get to our underdog outright winners. We got low price daily fantasy stunners. We got it all. Just like our regular football show. Football Friday, though. Our first edition of it this year, our first ever edition in this format, a joint task force good afternoon production. All right, I want to get into this, Fifth. We always love to have our little pick segments, and we've got a little 3-pack for you. Are you ready for a Fithian and Leach NFL Pick Festival?
Yeah, I can't be any more ready, man. I'm going to watch basketball tonight, some college football tomorrow, and then, man, Sunday is going to be like Christmas and my birthday. So, yeah, I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. Let's start with a very interesting game that I've been focused on for a couple weeks now. The spread has moved up and down a half point here or there. But how about Seattle? I know there's no home fans in a lot of these stadiums, but still traveling west to east or east to west, especially west to east, is an issue. Seattle's now played great in the Eastern time zone historically. They've played better at times in the last few years when they've obviously been a top-level team with Russell Wilson. But they're giving 2 right now at Atlanta. I think fifth in Atlanta is, I don't want to say underrated. They've had a ton of injuries. They've got a great receiving core. Calvin Ridley's comedy castle. Matt Ryan's still a solid quarterback. The defense improved through the draft. I'll go first on this one. I think the Atlanta team is underrated right now. And I think they win that game outright as an upset. I know it's a small one. I know there's some 2.5s out there, but right now you definitely can get Atlanta +2. I'm going to go Atlanta wins this game outright.
Yeah, I'm going to be on the other side of this one. It would be different if you had a full-footed crowd there in Atlanta, but you know what you have in Seattle with the emergence of DK Metcalf and Chris Carson there, the running back, you know, then all in, making the big move, giving away draft picks to bolster up their secondary. Remember, this was a Seahawks team that, you know, got into the postseason last year. You got Russ, and they're going to let them cook a little bit. You know, I like the Seahawks in this one. 30-24, I'll lay the points here in a game where, you know, Russ shouldn't have any problem with the crowd noise.
Hey, listen, a lot of times you and I are on the same sides. And I know we went on a stretch during our one of our previous football shows that one of us had an outright upset for like 10 weeks. But all right, our first pick of the year, we're on different sides. How about this game? Division game for Lions fans to focus on. Vikings at home. No fans, obviously. -3 at Green Bay. See, fifth, I don't think Green Bay did much to improve in the offseason. They did focus on their wide receiving core. Obviously, no longer have Mike McCarthy as a coach. It's one of these things where, yes, could they still be good because Aaron Rodgers is otherworldly? Of course they could. I think the Vikes are a much better team. And I know there's no fans, and that's Green Bay's really struggled in Minnesota for years when they obviously have had fans. I think they still struggle again. Where are you at with this game? It's right now Green Bay getting 3 at Minnesota.
Yeah, I think these teams will ultimately split, but I think the big factor here is Gary Kubiak takes over for Stefanski, who went to be the head coach of the Browns, and he's going to take over the offensive coordinator. That means get ready for a lot of Delvin Cook coming right at you, and they're going to run the ball left and right and all day long with Kubiak, and I like the Vikings here. I do think that I'm with you that the Packers drafting Love in the first round, not an embarrassment, but, I mean, you got Aaron Rodgers, and the biggest need for that team was having another playmaker, a pass-catching playmaker, and they blew it, especially with this draft that was chock full of wideouts. In the second round, they came back with Dillon. They must love – and I love Dillon myself. They got a 1-2 punch there. I think, you know, last year it was the Aaron Jones show. It wasn't Aaron Rodgers. It was the Jones, not Rodgers show, and now I think they'll have a 1-2 punch. I do think the Packers are not a 13-win team, but I think ultimately they're going to win the NFC North. But I don't think they're going to win this game, and I've got the Vikings winning 9 games this year, and I like Minnesota at home. I think they will cover the 3 points as well. Let me see if I wrote down what I have. Yeah, I got them. Winning this one 24-20.
I like it. By the way, Glenn says, come on, Wiz, stick a fork in Aaron Rodgers. He has been done. Aaron Rodgers is not the problem. And we'll see what Matt LaFleur, the new coach, obviously taking over McCarthy, is able to do in year number 2. But let me just tell you this right now. Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady's the GOAT, Dennis, but Aaron Rodgers might be the best quarterback ever as far as quarterbacking goes. Even Brady has said that if Rodgers played for the Patriots, he might have 9 Super Bowl championships. So let's not stick a fork in Aaron Rodgers. He's not done. I'm not buying the Packers. And I'm with you, Finn. I think Minnesota wins this game by a touchdown or more. I'll give you a score. I'll go Minnesota 24, Green Bay 16. I think Rodgers keeps them in it, but Minnesota wins it and covers the spread. And that gets off the Packers to an 0-1 start. Hopefully the Lions have a full game on them. Now, another really interesting game, Dennis. Sunday Night Football. It's in L.A., the first ever game in SoFi Stadium, a $5 billion stadium that will have no fans this year, but for good reason. The Dallas Cowboys, always a big story, always have a lot of buzz. Get, all the issues with Dak Prescott. Should they give him the money? Jerry Jones, too involved with the media. Everyone loves the Cowboys. They're a top 6 team in the NFL futures to win the Super Bowl. They fire Jason Garrett. They finally get rid of Garrett and bring in a guy that they believe Rivera could get the job done and get him to a Super Bowl. This Rams team, though, I think they're being kind of slept on. Yes, the defense is a question mark, but Jared Goff, that offense, Sean McVay will have them playing much better than last year. They were still 9-7, just missed the playoffs. They're getting, the Rams are, in an empty stadium, getting 2.5 at home. I think this is a trap game. I'll pick first here. I'm going Rams. I'm going with a lot of dogs this week because of the weird COVID stuff. I think the Rams win this game. Might be close, but right now it's Dallas minus 2.5, even though it's on the road cross country.
Yeah, I like the Rams too, man. Look at the NFC West. It is stacked, but you got McVay, Carroll, and Shanahan with the Seahawks, 49ers, and here are the Rams. You mentioned they didn't make the playoffs. They did win 9 games. It was like it's a huge disappointment here. They've got the Aaron Donald, the best defense player in the league over there. I think that, and I think Cam Akers going to be a bust out as a rookie here. Goff ain't that bad, and McVay is awesome as a head coach. I think they could actually sneak up. I have them as a playoff team this year. And spoiler alert, I got the Cowboys going all the way and winning it. But I don't think they'll win this first game. I like the Rams 35-30 in a shootout.
So how much cheddar you throw out on that 12-1 Cowboys to win Super Bowl 55? Is the rumor true you threw $1,000 on that, or was it a little less?
Well, I have them going to the Super Bowl, but I have them losing to Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. But whatever kind of number I can get for them to go to the Super Bowl, I would put a little bit down on that. I like it.
Yep, I think you get around to get the 3.5, 4-1. It's not bad at all. And by the way, the Ravens, the second favorite, they're 5-1 to win it all. The Chiefs 4.5 to 1 and got off to a great start with my guy Patty Mahomes last night. All right, so fifth, he goes with Seattle. I go Atlanta. We both go Minnesota minus the 3 at home against the Packers, and I go with the Rams plus the 2.5. Dennis goes with the Cowboys. Before we move on, fifth,
I go with the Rams too. I went with the Rams too. Cowboys to go to the Super Bowl.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I got to make sure I get that right there. Obviously, I can't slight you on the picks there. How do you feel about this parlay from Rowan Fletcher? He has the Steelers. By the way, be careful with parlays, but I like them. Steelers minus 5 against the Giants. That line's going up. Rams plus 2. It's actually 2.5. Seahawks minus 2. It's actually 2. And the Colts minus 7.5 up to 8 against the Jaguars. You know what? I like that parlay, Dennis. I know you. Well, I like the Falcons. Aside from that, I would flip it and take the Falcons plus 2.5 or 2 and take the Steelers, Rams, and Colts. I think the Colts win by 20.
Yeah, you know what? My dad always said parties are for suckers, but I like all those games individually. I wouldn't take it as a parlay. I'll give one up to Ray Fifth on the parlays, but I like all those games individually.
All right, love the Ray Fifth. Dave says the Dallas cover. Don't trust them. One more question here, Fifth, when it comes to Andy Dalton. Glenn asks, will Andy Dalton finish the season as Dallas' quarterback? Mike McCarthy will prove Dak is a fraud. I don't know about that.
I'm a big Dak Prescott fan. What's not to like about him? I think that when you look at the weaponry that he's got now with CeeDee Lamb here, Zeke Elliott, that offensive line, since I picked the Cowboys to go to the Super Bowl, yeah, I'm not going to say that it's going to be a big red rifle coming in midway for Mike McCarthy. No, I think Dak Prescott is going to be in the MVP conversation all year long. I think he's an underrated quarterback. How about those Cowboys?
How about those Cowboys? Right, that's the Fithian and Leach NFL Pick Festival. We got some daily fantasy and other fantasy stuff for you in just 1 second. But I did want to mention our good friends from Thomas McGee's. They're down in Eastern Market. They are a proud sponsor of the Football Friday show with Fithian and Leach, a joint task force Good Afternoon production. Great place to watch MMA, boxing, of course, soccer, and football as well. They got the whole outdoor patio. A big support of this show. Check out our friends at Thomas McGee's in Eastern Market. It is a great place to see live sporting events, have a drink, get outside before it's too cold. So check out our friends at Thomas McGee's down in Eastern Market, and we're really happy that they support Football Friday. Or fifth, you and I both absolutely love fantasy, and we thought we'd do this every week, have some fun with this. And, of course, we're always going to give our daily fantasy starters, but I wanted to start with this. It was your idea. when it comes to who you're high on and who you're low on in fantasy football, because we know that a lot of people watching right now are in 1 league, 2 leagues, 3 leagues, 10 leagues. Now, I have to ask you, you used to do the 1 league only rule. Have you changed that for 2020?
You know what? I have. It's like the deer hunter, Robert De Niro, one shot. It's the one shot out there. And I have played in an auction league. There's been some one-offs where I have gone and played in multiple leagues. But for the most part, it's just one league. As much time as I spend watching the NFL and dissecting all the different matchups, I should probably play in 10 or 20. But I just play. I'm just in one, and it's down to a 10-teamer, so all the teams look like they're stacked. But with that, I still pour a lot into it, and I like a guy who is playing for the Bears this week, Allen Robinson. No Darius Slay. We know that he was traded to the Eagles here. Robinson's awesome. Anyways, I can see this guy going up for over 100 and probably 10 catches here, man. I'm pounding Allen Robinson in daily fantasy. I don't have him in my 10-team league, but I do have him in my one daily fantasy. He's my lead wide up there. I think he will eat all day long against the Lions.
All right, good stuff there. I'm going to go to give you my guy, and I actually drafted him in season-long fantasy. I think that this team is not going to be very good, but they're going to have a chance to do something more than people think they will, and it's my man Joe Mixon, who obviously I'm not a fan of some of his off-the-field stuff, but I think you look at Joe Burrow, the second coming. I think you look at the Bengals, who in many different circles obviously are not being respected at all. They're actually a 3-point dog at home against the Chargers. And it's one of these things, Fifth, where I think that when you look at Joe Mixon and his ability to catch balls out of the backfield, go on long touchdown runs, he showed it to you at the end of last season. I like the matchup this week. I like him in all these different formats, daily fantasy, season-long fantasy. I think Joe Mixon is primed for a pretty darn big year if he stays healthy. That's what I'm very high on. What are your thoughts on the Mixon, man?
I like it, and I'll do you one better. I like the Bengals, and I like the Panthers outright. There's some upset specials coming up on Sunday, so I'm right with you there. Burrow, I know he's a rookie, but, he's 157 years old. I like what he's got. Boyd, A.J. Green should be in there. I don't think he's going to have any first-game jitters. They're at home, the Chargers. We know they're not the same team once they go west to east. We have seen that over the years. And Tyrod Taylor, I'll go with the Bengals outright. And Mixon, he doesn't have any competition there. It's all day long. Feed him through the air, feed him on the ground. They did not do that in the first half last year. It took them the season to realize, hey, why don't you get the ball to 28 nonstop? And they fed him constantly. I think they'll do the same thing against the Chargers on Sunday.
I like it. By the way, save your outright underdog special for a minute. We got that coming up. But I want to know who you're low on when it comes to fantasy, whether it's season long or daily fantasy. I know you had a couple guys you were thinking about, and I think you might have made a move here.
Well, I was thinking about Kendrick, and I was going back and looking at the game log last year against San Francisco. San Francisco pretty good against the run, but he actually did a pretty good job in one of the games, not so well in the other one. And Drake in that game, I was thinking about him, but you know what, Le'Veon Bell. I like the Bills as my best bet of the week against the Jets. The Jets traded away their heart and soul on defense. They're injury riddled with their wide receiving core. Adam Gase is already on the hot seat. It doesn't seem like he's embracing Le'Veon Bell. And I think Bell against that Bills defense, that's what I'm down on in week 1, Le'Veon Bell.
All right, well, you know that we obviously love our daily fantasy peeps. We're going to get to our low-priced DFS starters in a minute. But, Dennis, you're not going to like who I'm low on because you just talked up the team, and you made a lot of sense doing it. So it's not like I think you're crazy. But I am not high on Dak Prescott. I'm low on Dak Prescott. I know that he's incredibly talented. I know that Dallas team with a new offensive scheme, no longer, having a guy like McCarthy there, not having to worry about Jason Garrett making mistake after mistake and blowing different play calls. And I know Kellen Moore's not going to run that West Coast offense. I'm just not buying Dak Prescott right now because there's so many people in my fantasy league in other leagues that I know about that took him way too high. And then when it comes to daily fantasy, he costs a ton of money. He's one of the top 3 or 4 this week at least, highest priced, quarterbacks when it comes to DraftKings or FanDuel or other formats. So I am, at least for now, and I'm sure I'll be proven wrong because first week is always some weird stuff. I am low on Dak Prescott. But I definitely agree with you on the Le'Veon Bell thing. Now, this is where you make the money, though, Fifth. And we love daily fantasy, and we love the low-price stunners. So I'll let you lead off here. And just to let everyone know what a low-price stunner is. If you played DraftKings or FanDuel, any kind of daily fantasy, you got to obviously fit your budget and get guys off the radar that cost, $300, $400, $4,500 and make those guys valuable. That's how you win in daily fantasy. I know, Fifth, you and I think sometimes the computer's against us, but you can't win a lot of money unless you got some of those low-price stunners. You and I have always given some great ones to the people out there. Who do you have this week?
Well, I was surprised that Jalen Reagor, the Eagles' first-round pick, he was supposed to be out for a couple of weeks, but it looks like he's going to be up for Sunday. But Deshaun Jackson going up against the Skins, you can get him for a song and dance, and until he gets hurt, I like him as a play in the first couple of weeks. So I like Deshaun Jackson, and with Mike Evans being out for TB12, there was already a lot of hype for Scotty Miller out there as the third option for Tom Brady. Kind of seems like a guy that maybe a little Julian Edelman type. I'm going to play Scotty Miller, and I'm going to also throw in Deshaun Jackson as some low-price stunners.
I love it, Fifth. And for me, I got one guy. I want you to pound the hell out of him. I hate the team. I hate the name change. I think they're going to be garbage. But Antonio Gibson is basically the starter in Washington at running back. I know J.D. McKissick is listed ahead of him. You can get Antonio Gibson right now for $4,000 on DraftKings. I think it's very similar on FanDuel. I didn't check actually up to the second price. But you're basically getting a starting running back who I believe is going to, from the kid out of Memphis, Antonio Gibson, is going to have a pretty good start to the season, even with a garbanzo bean type Washington team. So I'm pounding Antonio Gibson this week, Dennis. That is my low-price starter. He could win some people some cheddar this week. But I got to tell you, I really think when you go to like make these moves, you got to kind of go against the curve. And some people think that's kind of crazy when I throw in a guy like Antonio Gibson. Do you hear me? Fifth game.
Yeah, I think the other thing that I do on Sundays, I wait to see what happens. Like you see that Miles Sanders could miss that game for the Eagles. So, they got Bart Scott. You can get him for next to nothing. So if they go in and Sanders looks like he's not going to play, you wait for those about an hour before. You could pop him in there and you can get a starting running back that's going up against a team like the Washington football team. Like you mentioned, they're going to be GB. So yeah, that's another one of those moves, and it depends. Like if you're playing in the ones that you play in, the high priced $10 ones, and there's a million people in there, you have to throw a bunch of crazy lineups in there and hope they hit to try to win. I play more down to 5 and 3, so I'm not looking to go as strange.
Yeah, and I don't mind. That's the thing. Like, there's obviously times where I'm right on it, and there's times where I have a guy like Gibson, and I've read some stuff where people actually are starting to like him for this week. But you kind of got to go against the grain sometimes because that's how you win it. If you're going with everyone else's stunner, then it's going to be, you're not going to win anything. But we will keep you abreast of that all season long. We love the daily fantasy. It's a ton of fun. So we'll give you our low price stunners each and every week. Fifth, go ahead, my friend.
Oh, I'm just going to tell everybody thanks for listening on the podcast, and you'll hear Dan on Fridays, on Football Fridays, and also we're going to try to get something going on Monday. So there it is, and I was wondering if I could work through this, and it looks like I can. So I'll be putting this up a little bit later on tonight.
Hey, we are, as you say, geniuses. No, it's. I'm telling you, the way you are able to, and I know it's this crazy year. But the way we're able to connect with people, Dennis, like all these people that are sending us comments and that we're excited about this show and appreciate you and I working together and whenever we do our own stuff, it means a lot. I know it means a lot to both of us. I don't want to speak for you, but I'll just say to be able to do this and be able to get people audio, get people streaming video and connect with them. And we love football. We love bringing you football. I'm grateful we're able to do it, Dennis, because this is one of those kind of times in our lives where things are a lot different than they ever were in the past. So to be able to connect this way, I know we both appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate you, thinking about this and doing the joint effort. We were always thinking about how we were going to do it, and here's football season, and it's happened. So I'm excited about that. It was taking a little while. I didn't jump right back into sports and watch every single thing, but I sure am now watching the basketball. It's hard to even get the hockey in there, but with the Tigers still with a heartbeat, and then last night watching the Thursday night game, and you got some college football games that are, you're at least going to have to take in a little bit to get a taste tomorrow, and then a full slate on Sunday. And I love the games. I love how it's going to go Lions, Bears, then we're going to have the Saints and Bucks for the 4:00 game, and then Cowboys and Rams, and then you get 2 games on Monday night. Man, this thing is it's rolling. Here we are. Hopefully it all ends up going out without a hitch, and we can get it back. I know you were going to say something about 9/11, Dan, and it just, as you were saying it earlier today, I was looking, I'm in the Peach Mountain Studios here, and so I was looking into the closet, and I noticed that I had something from a friend of mine who was in the pararescue, and he sent me this back in 2002, I think. It was a flag that was flown over Kuwait, and I'll just show everybody my it's a pretty sweet thing that I've got here. You can see
awesome.
Yeah, he sent it to me. I used to have it on the wall in the studio here. I'll have to put it back there one time, but man, these guys jump out of airplanes and take care of everybody, and he said, let's roll on there. He signed it for me, or at least it out to me. So there it is, man. September 11th.
It's crazy that we're here already, and I did want to. We got a couple things to do before we go, but I did want to just talk for a second, Dennis, about a good friend of mine, Ted Adderley. I've got a picture of him that I just downloaded, but I think I have the wrong thing. So you know what? I'll just do this. I just want to make sure I can get it up there. This is Ted Adderley. His parents they own Kelly Temp Agency, which is one of the biggest temp agencies in the world. Kelly Services, there's him on the right there. And Ted was in the World Trade Center on the 94th floor, interning in a place called Fred Alger on that fateful September morning. I'll never forget it. I was up. I would never sleep anyway. Dennis, you know that. But I was up late. So I think I went to bed at 5 or 6 in the morning. I always kept the TV on for whatever reason. I had MSNBC on. Normally I wouldn't go to bed with the news on. I normally have a movie or something on. But for whatever reason, I had MSNBC on. I woke up that morning at 7 or whatever time it was. Lester Holt was anchoring the coverage, and I watched the plane go into the tower live, and then I saw both of them go down live, as most of us did. And Ted was up there, and this guy's family they're billionaires, and it's not about money. It's not about rich or poor or black or white. We lost thousands of lives that day, and Ted was one of them. So every day I talk with my good friend David Shea. We went to Country Day high school with, where Chris Webber went, and we say a little prayer for him, because we didn't know for weeks that he was. I mean, we worried for the worst, but we didn't know officially for weeks that he passed away. But Ted was a hell of a guy. Never acted like he had money. Just wanted everyone to have a good time and wanted to invest in his friends and be with his friends. And that's just one story out of so many that we lost. I can't believe it was 19 years ago, Dennis. 19. Next year will be 20 years since 9/11. So we, as the hashtag says, never forget. It was, and one thing I wanted to ask you, Fifth, because I think that it's important as sports fans to reflect at times. I know for me, 9/11 with Mike Piazza and the Mets winning against the Braves and the Patriots, I think it was Bruschi and the flag. Sports brought us back together, and they always do. They're so unifying. That's why it's so important that sports are going on now during a pandemic. But I remember after 9/11, Fifth, that was such a raw time for all of us, and sports really helped us heal.
Yeah, it did. There's a contrast right now with the pandemic, and even last night, because there's, the protests and the conversation that goes on with the American flag. But if you go back for 19 years, there was none of that conversation. It was like everybody was pouring in, and everybody was, all about the anthem, and it was very powerful. Think about the first pitch with Bush and everything that went on there, and just in the days certainly the days and maybe the weeks, just how nice everybody was and looking out for one another. We had a common goal, and that was we knew that, it was bin Laden right here with the pandemic. We don't really know who the enemy is, and we're all kind of divided on that. But, 19 years, never forget, that's for sure.
Two quick things before we go. Actually, one little tidbit. If you see on the bottom of the screen, the crawl that's going across, kind of letting everyone know what our show's all about. During 9/11, that's when the crawl was invented. If people remember CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, ABC, whatever, they would put stuff underneath the newscast, whether it was names of people that were missing, whether it was news, because there was so much to get in. That was when the crawl was invented in media. So, that's something that I don't want to say good or bad that came out of 9/11, but that changed the way we disseminate news, Dennis. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, little known fact, a couple of years before that, when I lived in England, I invented the pub crawl. So
I heard you were really good at the pub crawl. All right,
not
we got
bad.
two things.
Gave a good effort. I don't know how good I was. I don't remember much.
Now, after the pub crawl, did you often have sufficient chips? What was the post-pub crawl snack?
One of two things, man. You either had curry from the Indian store or fish and chips.
All right, let's get to our outright underdog special. As I mentioned, you and I, for weeks at a time, go on 8, 9, 10-week runs where at least one of us give an outright upset winner. I know you mentioned a couple a little while ago, but who are you on? I'm going to throw the lines up here in a second. As far as an outright underdog winner, which of course for people that maybe are watching for the first time, means a team that is an underdog with a point spread out of Vegas, they win the game outright. That's your outright upset special. So what do you got, Fitz?
Well, I was going to look at the Browns at first, but their secondary is decimated against the Ravens, so I'm stay away from them. And, I like the Panthers with Matt Rule and Teddy Bridgewater, Teddy Two Gloves in his first game, down there against the Raiders. I kind of like that, but I'm going to go with 57-year-old Joe Burrow against the Chargers for all the reasons I talked about before. I think the Bengals come up big in their first game. They beat and take down the Lightning Bolts outright. I'll take the 3, of course, but I like Cincy Bengals outright.
I like it. If Dave Rieger wasn't a Broncos fan, I might have thought about the Broncos. I'm staying away from that. By the way, since we've been on the air live, the Lions line has gone from 3 to 2.5 to 2. So the Bears are taking, I was talking to my friend that's an odds handicapper. The Bears are taking massive bets right now, Dennis, at plus 2.5, plus 3. So the line is moving down. I'm going to stick with a game that I talked about a little while ago. I know you like the Cowboys to go to the Super Bowl, but I know you're with me on the Rams this week. I think the Rams getting the 2 or 2.5 at home in that brand new $5 billion behemoth of a stadium with no fans are going to beat Dak Prescott, Mike McCarthy, and the Cowboys in game number 1 on Sunday Night Football. So I go to the Rams with the outright upset underdog special. Fifth, before we go, it's week 1. We got to give our Lions season predictions. I know our man Peter King took them to make the playoffs. I was talking with Dave Burkett, the Lions Peter for the Free Press. He thinks they could be on the edge of the playoffs. Where are you at? Lions 2020. Does Patricia keep his job? Do the Lions make the playoffs?
Yeah, it's interesting to even think about what I'm going to say in my head because I'm going to pick the Lions to go 9-7. I don't think that that's going to get them into the playoffs. I think that the Packers are going to ultimately win the division, but they're going to be close. An extra team in this year. I think they'll be on the edge of the playoffs. They'll be in playoff contention, but I think they'll win 9 games, and that'll be a very interesting predicament that Sheila Ford Hamp will be in because she'll have to look at Bob Quinn, who fired Jim Caldwell and said 9-7 wasn't good enough. But will it be good enough for Bob Quinn and Sheila Ford Hamp's eyes? I don't know. Only she does. But that seems very Lioness to me. I've got them going 9-7. Of course, start out with a victory on Sunday.
I love Jim Caldwell. All right, well, fifth, I also have them going 9-7, but finding a way in probably is – there's an extra wild card, but finding their way in as a playoff team, it's going to be an exciting season. I think Stafford and the offense do a heck of a job. In Darrell Bevel's the offense in year number 2. If Swift gets healthy and Galladay stays healthy, the offense should hum. It's all about Okudah, the front 7, my man Okwara, his brother Okwara. I love Romeo Okwara, Dennis. It's all about that defense. Can they come to play? I believe they will enough. The Lions will be at least 500 in the NFC North. They will go 9-7. They will make the playoffs. So there won't have to be a decision on playoffs or bust Patricia keeping his job. So we're both at 9-7. You say no playoffs. I say they just sneak in. We're both right there at 9-7. Fifth, is that a heart?
Acquire Brothers. That's a big O for the Acquire Brothers.
The O. Fifth, I love you, my friend. We're going to do this every Friday. It's a joint task force. Good afternoon production. Any parting thoughts before we go here?
No, I got to go. I got to run. Let's see you.
All right, that's Fithian. I'm Dan Leach. We'll see you next time on Football.